Evening, everybody. It's the Hawk again. I just want to welcome uh, Radio. They listening tonight too. Good evening, listeners. This is the Hawk. Some of you don't know me, but I've been on here for a while. Um, I'm the president of USAC now, with Tammy Crowland, who's my vice president. We're a non-profit organization, and I'm here to talk about the third part of my video series on South Africa, and today I'm going to talk about crime. Let's talk about crime. Well, in the history of South Africa, from let's say before apartheid and the British rule, we can start with when the British let the South Africans take over the country from 1948 until 1994. There were 21,000 murders in South Africa. That was based during the apartheid era, and these are facts given to the during the Truth Commission conducted by Desmond Tutu and company. During that time, majority of the deaths were created from black-on-black violence between the ANC and the IFP and other groups, plus faction fights and among other things too. So let's continue. Now, the rhetoric that we hear today is about how the blacks buried people and sent them down the rivers for the crocodiles to eat. Well, the number of deaths that they expect crocodiles to eat is just ridiculous. It doesn't even make sense, and there is no evidence, and there has been no mass graves found, and it's not true. So the rhetoric does not apply. But let's begin with what's going on now in South Africa. Every year, there's approximately 35,000 people murdered. Approximately 150 people are murdered every single day. So let's continue. Just in the last few days, it's been ridiculous, the number of farm attacks. So since 1994, when the South Africa became a free and fair elected country where everybody had a part to play in the political system, there's been over 70,000 white murders. This is a slow genocide. But let's begin with let's see the biggest problem in South Africa is two things: racism and crime. Forget politics. Crime. I don't care what politician you are. If you're a criminal, you're a criminal. It doesn't matter if you're a politician or you're the leader of the country or you're the lowest guy in the street. You're a criminal. So let's begin. Since 1994, the ANC government's been in power, and since then, 70,000 white people have been murdered. There's an average of 36,000 people murdered a year. There's an average of one woman raped every 3 minutes in South Africa. And this goes down to including 3-year-olds. Infants. There's now cases of 4,000 children between the ages of 10 and 14 that are pregnant have had babies. This is outrageous. These are babies having babies. This is a crime. This is a crime. One must consider what is really going on. I'll read you some stats that came into me today. Farm murder, Northwest. Elderly female, allegedly shot dead. Farm attack, KZN, between Pinetown and Maritzburg. Knife stitched in back, face, chest, Drummond area. Farm attack. Plot 69, Paul Linder. Follow-up, 5 to 6 armed young men as suspects. Northwest. Young man struggling sustained serious cuts. GP, Salt Pan, farm attack, information limited, family attack. Man shot 3 in knee, woman stabbed with knife and arm. Small holding, on a spot. A middle group group couple, wife overwhelmed by men around 4:30. He was shot in the lower body, and the lady was stabbed in the arm. Hattersburg Fontaine, a farm attack. 3 black people trapped victims and forced them and tied them up with cable wire. In the Cape, attacked 2 brothers, 22 and 24, on a small holding. The attack is armed with pangas. And it goes on and on and on and on. That's just in the last week. So I'm going to talk about the general population of South Africa. Your biggest problem is crime. And let's start with the top and we go down. Politicians. All the politicians that took their hands and asked for bribes, for any bribe, it don't matter what it is, like Bosasa, are guilty of crime. Not the person that gave the money. The person that gave the money knew that they would never get anything done unless they bribed these politicians. What does that tell you? These are criminals. They've violated their oath of office. Policemen taking bribes at traffic stops. These are criminals. Any policeman that does not do his job is a criminal. Any politician that does not do his job is a criminal. The 16 billion rand stolen from Eskom is crime. And these people need to be arrested for crimes. Crime is crime. It don't matter what color you are, what creed you are, or who you are. Crime doesn't have a color. You need to hold these people accountable. That is your problem in South Africa. Crime. What causes crime? The lack of work, the lack of employment, and the lack of money, or complete and utter power, sickness of power and greed. It doesn't matter what race you are. If you're a criminal, you're a criminal. Some political parties right now are advocating the murder of minorities. This is criminal. That's a violation of the Constitution of South Africa under Chapter 2, Section 16. Every time they advocate the murder of minorities in South Africa, irrespective of color or any race, it's a crime. And they need to be arrested. And the parties disband and the assets seized. And that is part of the law of South Africa. To every woman, child, woman and female that walks in the streets of South Africa, their biggest fear is being raped. Most black women walking home fear that they will be raped. Most white women fear that they will be raped. Most minorities fear that they will be tackled and raped. Young girls walking to school have fear that they will be raped. And this is the truth. It's not a lie. It's not to be hidden. It's a fact. How many women are raped today and don't talk about it because they're too ashamed? Too ashamed to say that they were gang raped or murdered or beaten, beaten, and had to accept this shame. young girls, families that are murdered in their homes and as young as 2 years old, strapped to a table and raped. Disgusting. Farm attacks, constant farm attacks that are nothing's been done about. This is crime. And the reason they're doing is to get you off the land so they can steal your land. That is a crime. To take your land without compensation is a crime. It's a crime against humanity. The BEE laws is a crime against humanity. No country allows the majority to have affirmative action over the minorities. It's absurd. What is the biggest problem in South Africa? Crime. Forget politics. Forget it. Because you're going to replace the politicians one after the other each time you have an election. It doesn't matter who's in there. If they're a criminal, they're a criminal. And you hold them accountable. The same goes to the police who are taking bribes, who are not doing their jobs. To all the child molesters who are taking our children, kidnapping them and putting them in sex houses as young as 10, 9, 5. These sick people need to be taken out and removed from society. In the next election, it should be a fact that they should bring back capital punishment because crime is so rampant that people don't care that they kill people. They have no consequences. They're let out after 6 months, sometimes after 3 months, because the jails are so full. To the new politicians that come into power and the ones that are conservatively Christian or believe in God and the morals of man, need to bring back capital punishment, because an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, and no man is allowed to kill another man and get away with it, period. Rape should be an extreme punishment. Hard labor for 25 years in general population, and everybody needs to know who they are and what they have done. If not even a worse punishment. Any man that rapes a child should be hanged. In my opinion. But I'm not the law, you are. The discrimination against minorities in South Africa is a crime. The lies of politicians to young, uneducated, misguided children that it's okay to steal, it's okay to take, it's okay to be criminals is unacceptable. It is not the color of my skin that results in crime. It's the thought of your mind and your soul and your heart, and what you have done in the future, you will pay for your past. Our children walk in fear to school every day. Our women walk in fear to work every day. And our men walk in fear of being robbed. I saw a video, as I mentioned before, of a young boy going to school, dressed in a white shirt and a tie, dressed well with his haversack on his back, going to school to better his life. And 4 young criminals stabbed him to death in the middle of the street in Johannesburg for no reason but to take his money, and left him there to die while people watched and looked the other way. Has society dropped the morals of their lives so badly that you can't help a child? Why is not the Christian community standing up and complaining that rape, murder, and robbery is unacceptable in every single race? Or do you fear the little guys? When you consider the politicians in South Africa and the criminals in South Africa, what is the percentage between the 50 million people that are there and the criminals that accept it? It's probably 2%. And that 2% is controlling your minds, your mentality, and your fear. The hijacking in South Africa should be a capital punishment. In the United States during the 1800s, any man that stole a man's horse was hung, because once you took his transport, he had nowhere to go. He could die in the desert. It seems to be the norm. It's okay to steal a man's car. It should be wrong. It should be outlawed completely as a capital punishment. You hijack a car, you need to be hung. The same with rape, and the same with murder. And here's another thing that people do not realize. Should all the farms be taken away and these people all murdered and raped and tortured and whatever, and you have no food, because that is the next thing that's going to happen. Consider this. Once you kill a farmer, you kill yourself. It means you kill your nation. You're killing your nation to starve. And those same people need to hang too. Because what are you doing? You're committing murder of your own people. Because you're starving them. The irresponsible behavior of certain people that advocate the taking of land have not considered the consequences of their actions. Because by advocating this, they have not come up with a plan for farms. There's no education to re-farm people, teach them how to farm. They cannot do it. So you take productive farms and you break them down to nothing and they turn to thorns. And thorns don't grow food. And by killing these farmers, you kill yourself because it's irresponsible. Because you cannot produce the food. Look at Rhodesia, Zimbabwe. It was the highest producer of food in the whole of Africa, second to none. And within a short period of time, Robert Mugabe destroyed it. What he did, 300,000 white people. He destroyed them, sent them away. And 12 million black people suffered for what he did. Mozambique, 1,000 white people, chased them away. Didn't want them, farmers. Ended up hurting 8 million black people. Battling to eat. Country a mess. No investments. Zimbabwe was sanctioned all the time. Look what happened the other day. Same thing. And now, they want to take the rest of the farms away from 5 million white people, or the land. And 50 million black people will suffer and starve because of crime. It's just crime. Because what are they after? They want to steal. This is just stealing. Forget the ANC. Forget the EFF. Forget the name. Call them what they are. Criminals. This is just criminality. Look at every single department in the government. Every township. Every mayorship. Every part that is in South Africa has fallen apart because of crime. Corruption is crime. Murder is crime. Rape is crime. Theft is crime. Hijacking is crime. Crime, crime, crime. Everybody lives in cages. You live with bars on your windows, bars on your doors, bars down your stairs. Your cars are all jacked up to just, and the cheapest damn car you can buy looks like in Fort Knox. Cars are chained to the floor so they can't steal them at night. Men and women are shot at traffic lights because they want the car. They don't let them out, just shoot them. With babies in the back of the car. Watch their parents die for no reason, but to thieve a car, take it away, no consequences. To all the black people in South Africa, do you like living in fear? Constant fear of being raped and robbed and murdered? And yet your politicians blame the white people. But who's doing the crime to you? Mostly, 99% of the time. 99.9% is the same black people who are just criminals, who rape your women and your children and rob your houses. Why do you let them do this? And the white people are just trying to survive too. They are not your enemies. These horrible politicians that tell you stuff like, if a black man dies, kill a woman and a child. These are cowards. These are terrible people. Why would you vote for these people? Because they can say when the white people are all gone, who's next? You? And do you think it's just the white people? What about the Indians, the colored people, the Khoisan, and the smaller groups? What about the Chinese? When you want to run out of white people and Indians and coloreds, you're going to attack the Chinese too? You have to understand this is all lies. Do you want to live in peace? Do you want investments that they have factories everywhere and everybody can afford a car and everybody can have food and no more lamile, no more hunger and no more rape, and you have clinics and real hospitals and real roads, no more potholes because the money is in the municipalities, and you have real electricity, not the Tsotsis taking your electricity, your gas. And now you have no electricity in South Africa. To all the people in Soweto stealing electricity, who pays for that electricity? Damn Lungus. Or you stealing things? That's criminal. That's crime. You can't expect services if you don't pay for them. When you go to the store, you need Manzi. You have to pay for Manzi. You can't steal it. When you buy electricity, gas, you have to pay. Mali, right? No Mali, no service. It's how it works. Because a man has to work. He has to pay for the truck to come to your house to put the service. That's how it works. Why are they lying to you? Why is it you get upset that in the white areas that the houses are okay? And why do you get upset the roads are okay there? Why do you get upset because the schools where the Mfundisas are that they fixing the schools because they look after them and they pay the Mali. But if you don't pay, this thing doesn't work. Nothing is for free. Even in America, America is a big place, massive, huge. Just in the estate that I live in, you can put the whole of South Africa. That's how big this place is. But you have to consider to run something this big, people pay taxes and they pay money and they pay for electricity, water, services, for roads, everything. Everybody pays everywhere in the world except South Africa, where they say, no, it's somebody else's problem. You can't live like that. I understand you don't have work. I understand for 25 years they haven't done nothing for you. Nothing. They've let you sit behind. They didn't change apartheid. They just took over apartheid. So for 25 years you sat there And instead of 25 years, you went backwards instead of forwards. So now you have 50 years of problems. You have to hurry up to get to 25 years and then start again. So you've lost 50 years of your life, of your services, of your country that needs to be fixed now, not tomorrow. And if you continue down this road, the crime will continue till there's nothing left, and Zimbabwe will be your future, where the people are eating rats for food, and there is no corn, and there is no maize, and there is no bread, sinkwa. And the Tutsis, the thieves, the criminals will be the biggest problem of your life, not the politicians. The politicians don't care. They've stolen your money already. They're out of the country. They're gone. They don't live here. Explain to me why the politicians have billion-dollar houses and you live in a shack. Consider these things before you blame other people. Remember the 5 fingers. This finger points at the victim. These 3 fingers look at you. And this finger goes to God. So when you look at this is your problem. Don't point the finger. Crime is your biggest fear, biggest problem in South Africa. Forget the politicians. I can point a million fingers right now. Every time you see somebody that's doing crime, stop them. You are stronger than them. You are many, and they are few. And the more they do this, the more they let you let them do it. Your biggest problem is crime. And to the police of South Africa, you should be ashamed. You should be ashamed of yourself for being racist. You should be ashamed of yourself for not doing your jobs. You should be ashamed of yourself for being drunk on duty. You should be ashamed of yourself for taking bribes. And you should be ashamed of yourself for not going to do your job every day. You should be ashamed of selling the marijuana to people down the street that you took of another man. You should be ashamed of selling weapons to people outside. You should be ashamed of falling asleep while you're on duty and the Tutsis come and take your guns. Because the crime, you should stop the crime. My name is Hawk. I'm just the Hawk. And I'm just here to tell you the truth. I'm not lying to you. I'm just telling you what other people will not tell you. Crime has no color. Black, white, pink, and yellow in South Africa. Remember, don't listen to the lies anymore. Every man, woman, and child born in South Africa is a South African, irrespective of color, because there's only one race on this earth, and it's called the human race, and it's made up of many, many colors. And until you understand this, you will never understand peace, because that's all we need is peace. Tomorrow when you wake up, consider this. Who is your enemy? Is it the white man? Is it the black man? Is it the Indian man? Or is it just crime? Because you're all living in fear and you're all blaming the wrong people. Your future is far better than what you have right now if you change it, if you stand together and unite. That's why my organization is called the United South African Coalition. The reason I say that is because it's unite South Africa together in a coalition. I bid you good night. And the next one I'm going to talk about is far worse. I'm going to explain to you the future of what you are expecting to get next time if you don't change your ways. I'm going to talk about why you should not vote for certain parties, why you should consider what is right and what is wrong, and why you must forget the past and change your heart for the future, because the future could be good, not bad, if you change your ways now. Certain people, evil, people, very evil people, are running you down a path because of fear. And only for a few brave men and women will stand up to this evil. We'll talk about that tomorrow. I'm out of here. Good night, everybody.